Hello and welcome to the ARCA Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen. This is Racing News Now. I'm so happy you joined me here today. Today we're going to talk about the ARCA Series, first of two stops at the Kansas Speedway for 2021. The Dutch Boy 150 miles, 100 laps around the mile and a half in Kansas City, Kansas. This race was, by all accounts, there's a lot of things you could call this race. It did have its boring elements to it, not gonna lie. It did have boring elements to it. There were things happening though. It did get dominated by one certain driver that did lead every lap. Once this driver took the lead on lap one, there was really nothing anybody could do with them after that point. Now, there were a couple other cars that looked like under different circumstances they might have competed for the win, but fortunately there wasn't a lot of cautions to bunch the field up. In this case, that probably would have helped the racing a little bit. There were a couple of wrecks in this race, one of them on lap one that got kind of scary for a moment. We'll talk about that momentarily, but overall it was kind of an iffy race, and there was a little bit of drama in this race as well. We'll get into that momentarily. Not as big as some of the questionable calls that they've made in previous races this season, but something that looked a bit off. There could have been nothing nefarious to this whatsoever, but with a iffy explanation to it, it just seemed a bit off. So let's start off with your caution report for the day. 3 caution flags for a total of 19 laps. First one came at lap 1 as Brett Holmes spun in turns 3 and 4, had started on the outside pole. Pole sitter Ty Gibbs had gotten the jump on him and had gotten around him. Then he got stuck in the middle, 3 wide on the backstretch. Corey Heim to the inside, Nick Sanchez on the outside. They go down into turn 3. That was, without question, the worst place Brett Holmes could have been imaginable with the aero situation. And then it was really windy today at Kansas as well, so that did not help things. Brett got loose in the middle, tried to correct it, might have overcorrected just a bit, spun the car around. Scott Melton coming through turns 3 and 4, wasn't sure where exactly Brett Holmes was going to go, picked the wrong line, drives straight into the driver's side door of Brett Holmes' machine. They both slide up into the wall. It looked a little scary. With Scott Melton went straight into that door of Brett Holmes at practically full speed. The right side of Brett Holmes' car actually jumped off the ground. It was such a hard impact. Luckily, and this is a testament to the safety of these cars, Brett Holmes walked away from this without any injuries. A stark contrast to what we saw with Derek Lancaster last week, which, if you haven't been following the updates on him, he is doing much better now. It looked a little scary there for a day or two afterwards, but he has pulled through, is on the road to recovery from last week's Talladega incident. Luckily, we did not have that same sort of thing happen 2 weeks in a row. Brett Holmes was able to walk away with nothing to speak of from that accident as far as I'm aware. That is definitely a testament to the safety of these cars, but we can't forget Derek Lancaster last week was a reminder to all of us that this is still a dangerous sport and things like that can happen. I think we take that for granted sometimes. Luckily, everyone involved today was safe. No more incidents after that point until the competition caution at lap 51, where everybody was able to get their pit stops in and get back into the race. Now, this is where things got a little interesting drama-wise, I guess. There was a penalty given to Corey Heim under this caution for, apparently, my understanding from this, the only report I saw of this outside of what was told on the broadcast was a tweet from Bob Pockris. Apparently, Corey got lap while they were making an adjustment on the car, but then he ended up getting held on the apron in turns 3 and 4 until the field could get around him as they came to the green. So did he pass the pace car back after he was lapped, and then they told him, no, you have to be a lap down? There's so many questions with this, and not a lot of answers floating around. It seems very weird to me that whatever adjustment they were making, it would have taken long enough that when he came into pit from third, under caution, that adjustment would have taken long enough for the pace car to come back around and lap him. It seems very iffy to me. I'm going to try to get some answers on this because it just seems a little off to me, if we're being honest. It probably is nothing nefarious going on there, but I can't be the only one asking these questions, right? Something seemed off about that. We'll see if we can't get Charlie Krall, the PR director, back on this week to give us some answers for that, because it just seemed a bit off to me. Final caution of the day came at lap 66, shortly after the competition caution. Eric Caudell spun in turns 3 and 4 to bring out the caution, and that would actually end up giving Corey Heim his lap back. He ended up being the lucky dog on that caution and was able to rebound fairly well from that point. So really no harm, no foul in the end, but again, should it have happened in the first place? I have my doubts. So, like I said, we'll try to get you some answers on that, why that happened, because I'm not sure. So, now, to get into your lap leaders for the day. Like we said, one driver led every lap in this race. It was the same driver that started on the pole, and the same driver that in the combined practice and qualifying session was half a second faster than everyone else with his fastest time. It wasn't much different in the race. Ty Gibbs led every lap and was just head and shoulders faster than everyone in this race. It was not even close. Ty Gibbs ran away with this, and he had a bit of a challenge from Drew Dollar on the final restart off of that Eric Caudell incident. Dollar raced him hard, but raced him very clean. Either way, Ty Gibbs leads every lap, wins this race, his second win of the season, now tying Corey Heim for the most wins. They both won 2 races apiece in the first 4 races, but as we see when we get to the standings, Ty Gibbs still has a bit of a hole to catch up to Corey Heim. Drew Dollar came home in second. Drew Dollar was probably the second fastest car today. That was probably the most impressive run I've seen out of Drew Dollar since he has been in ARCA. He is slowly maturing and slowly turning into a really good driver before us. It's a big jump from what we saw from him even at this time last year. He has really seemed to work on himself and improve his driving over the past year, and I think we're seeing a different Drew Dollar right now than we saw last year. It's very refreshing and it's very cool to see. Corey Heim came home in third. He and Dollar were probably pretty even in this race, but about a half step behind Ty Gibbs the whole day. Jack Wood also very fast today, probably the best run I've seen out of him since he's been in that 21 car. Came home with a solid 4th place finish. Didn't have the speed to keep up with Ty Gibbs, but he was, I wouldn't even call it a half step off the Venturini cars, maybe a quarter step off of them. A little bit more, and he's right there with these Venturini cars in this race, and that's a big improvement from what we've seen from him in the first few weeks of this season. I like the direction that 21 team is heading, and I think that's a good move forward for them, and I think maybe we're going to see a possible win out of Jack Wood before the end of this season if he keeps on this trajectory. Derek Griffith in his final race of the season thus far for Venturini Motorsports in the 25 this week came home with a solid 5th place finish. Didn't make a lot of noise, but was right there all day contending 4th, 5th, 6th. Didn't seem to quite have the speed that his teammates Dollar and Heim had, but still a pretty fast day overall for Derek Griffith. Thad Moffitt came home in 6th. He was super loose all day. Every time they put that camera on him, he was basically drifting through the corner. That car was so loose. It was incredible that he never wrecked that thing, and I think is a testament to how good of a driver Thad Moffitt has become. We saw today a car that in the hands of some drivers probably would have been wrecked by the end of the day. And Thad Moffitt came home with a respectable 6th place finish with it. So kudos to Thad Moffitt, another driver that has improved a lot since the first time we saw him show up on the ARCA scene a few years ago. Greg Von Alst, all the way up to 4th at one point on one restart, settled for a 7th place finish in this race, last car on the lead lap. Kyle Sieg came home in 8th one lap down. Nick Sanchez had some issues at one point, got into the wall, had to make an unscheduled pit stop, and came home in the 9th position 2 laps down. And then Alex Clubb, nice run for him in that 27 car that he co-owns with Tim Richmond, came home in the 10th position 5 laps down. Great run for Alex Clubb today. Final page 11 through 20th, Tony Bradinger came home with a respectable 12th place finish, 10 laps off the pace. Justin Carroll in his first big track start came home in the 13th position. And then you see down here at the bottom, Brett Holmes and Scott Melton 19th and 20th out in that lap 1 accident. So that is your results from the Dutch Boy 150. Gonna work on a Ty Gibbs interview. Should have one this time, actually. Still got to work out the logistics on that one, but hopefully should have that within the next couple of days or so. So keep an eye out for a Ty Gibbs interview. First one we've had for a while, so you'll get to hear his thoughts on this win. And, you know, you never know who else you might hear from in the coming week on this channel. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, I'm going to try to get PR Director Charlie Crawl on as well once again, just to kind of explain what happened there with that Corey Heim penalty in the middle of the race. Just seemed a little weird. So let's take a look at your point standings following this race. 4 races into the main ARCA Menard Series schedule for 2021. Corey Heim still your points leader, now by 13 points over his teammate Drew Dollar. But again, Drew Dollar not running the full ARCA schedule this year, so really you can kind of axe him off this list and just kind of look there at Ty Gibbs, who is now 23 points back. Made up 8 points on the lead this week, so is cutting into the deficit. But 23 points is still a pretty significant margin when you look at the fact that Corey Heim has 2 wins, a second, and a third this season. He's been extremely consistent even when he's not winning. It's going to take a lot for Ty Gibbs to come back into this. He can do it. If he keeps winning races, he's going to do it. But it's going to take a while with as consistent as Corey Heim is right there on his bumper even when he's winning. It can happen. It's going to take a little bit. Kyle Sieg drops to 4th this week, 28 points off of the points lead, and so far has run every race this season. A little contradictory to what we heard last week, that he was only going to be running the races that they were already there with the Xfinity team for Ryan Sieg. So Xfinity's not in Kansas this week and Kyle was still there, so it's possible they're running the full season now. It sounds like they're trying to make an effort for that, so we'll see if that happens. Still a good showing thus far this season for Kyle Sieg. Thad Moffitt sits 5th in points currently, 38 points off the top. Jack Wood 6th. Nick Sanchez has moved up to 7th, still slowly chipping away at that deficit from those couple of bad starts at Daytona and Phoenix, trying to claw his way back into this. Brett Holmes has fallen to 8th after his incident early in the race. Tony Bradinger's moved up to 9th now after that 12th place finish. She continues to slowly chip away into better and better points positions each week as well. And D.L. Wilson also now in the top 10. He's been in every race thus far this season. But that's your point standings following the Dutch Boy 150, and I believe that'll do it for us today on this ARCA Rewind show. No watch party this next weekend, week from today, Saturday, for the ARCA East race at Nashville, as we will actually be at that race. We announced that last week. We will physically be at Nashville, first race we've been at in almost a year. So it'd be nice to be back at the track, give you some coverage from that race. So, of course, there will not be a watch party. There will be a rewind show, though, and who knows what other coverage we might give you from that race. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, you need to be. Make sure those notifications are on so you see everything all the coverage that we give you from Nashville. You know when it happens, as it happens. And then, of course, we'll be at Toledo later in the month as well. So lots of stuff coming up for you. Make sure you're subscribed. But I think that's going to do it for this ARCA Rewind show. As always, thank you to our Patreon supporter, Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you, as always, for your support. It is always greatly appreciated. If you'd like to be a patron of RNN, the link is down below in the description, patreon.com/racingnews now. Not required, but it is very much appreciated when you want to support RNN in that way. It helps us get to more and more races like Nashville and Toledo. So if you want to see us do more live coverage like that, that's a way to help us do it. So always appreciated, but again, not required at all. So I believe that's going to do it. Do not forget, if you haven't done it already, we're still in that hashtag race to 1K. So if you haven't already, go down below, hit that subscribe button. Free to do. And the quicker we get there, the quicker we can give you mobile live streams from the track at these races that we are live at. So I think that's everything. So as always, this has been the ARCA Menard Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.